Hi. Time for another G-Rambles where I ramble about whatever's on my mind for however many minutes. Today I wanted to talk about something that has been going on for a while now. I want to say at least a few years. And it's gotten better in some ways and worse in others. And it's just a topic that a lot of people have an opinion about or feel one way or the other about. And that is magic fatigue or product fatigue or magic burnout or whatever you want to call it. The idea that we're getting too much product and the fact that we're always in a spoiler season is very draining and deterring to a lot of people. Um, I wanted to talk about how I feel about burnout, what I think is happening in terms of why it's feeling that way, and I guess how I would fix it. How I feel about Magic Burnout is it doesn't apply to me because I'm not a competitive player. How I consume Magic is I pay attention to the spoiler season for sets that I'm super into. I paid attention to every spoiler for Spider-Man. I paid attention to all of them for Tarkir, and I'm gonna pay attention to all of them in Strixhaven or whatever. I'm gonna look over all the cards that come out and create a bunch of cool shit with them or whatever. With the sets that I care less about, so Edge of Eternities, Avatar, that kind of thing, I'm not paying as much attention. How I usually do it is like, I see the spoilers that happen to come my way, that happen to be like in my Discover feed or whatever on Blue Sky, or happen to just be talked about on a Discord server I'm in or whatever. And then when the set is fully revealed, close to when it comes out, I skim the set. I skim the legendaries to see if there's any cool commanders that I want to build. And then I maybe skim the set. Most of the time, I just go to EDH Rec for all of the decks that I have. That way I can see if any of them got updated cards or whatever. So I'm usually not affected by burnout because I only play commander. I understand how you could feel that way if you play other formats or are in more deep in terms of that than I am. But like even then, I feel if you this is gonna be weird. I feel if you feel that burnout is happening to you, that is totally justified. I understand how you feel that way. It's one of those things where like I think a way you can get rid of that feeling is not consuming every single card in every single set, because that's what WotC wants from us or whatever. They don't expect us to look at every single card in every single set and memorize them, because if you play competitive Magic, you don't need to memorize every single card in the set. You just need to memorize the ones that are in meta decks or whatever. You just need to look at the topping lists or whatever to see how they changed and evolved over time, or what new cards are added to them. Because I feel I don't have a frame of reference because, again, I'm not a competitive player, but I feel like most sets introduce a small handful of competitive viable cards or whatever, or cards that shake up the meta. Some sets have a lot. I feel like most sets would have a minimal amount, but I'm not sure. That's just how it looks from an outsider looking in. So I feel if you're a competitive player, you can just look at the few new cards that people are talking about or could be meta or are related to your strategies. And I feel like if you're a draft player, where you would probably need to memorize most of the cards to understand the draft environment, you don't need to draft every set. You can just draft the ones that seem interesting to you, or if you're like, I don't really feel up for drafting, I'm kind of burnt out, you could just skip a draft or two. I don't know, that's just how I feel that a way to get rid of burnout is to just focus on the products that you really care about, and if you're a competitive player, just like focus on what's topping and the good cards in each set or whatever. Like, if you're a competitive player, you don't need to know about like the stuff that's bad and clearly just there for draft or for a niche commander thing, you know? Uh, that's basically how I feel about burnout or whatever. I understand if you feel it. I think if you do, I would recommend not forcing yourself to consume every card in every set at all times. You know what I mean? I just would not recommend looking at every single card and memorizing every single card. You know what I mean? As for why I think it's happening, um, I have a theory because I have a theory and I don't know how viable it is, but My theory is that the issue is that they're trying to fix two problems that the community has with what they've been doing at once, and fixing those two things is contradictory to each other. We got at a certain point, we got like 8 to 10 sets every year. I think it was just 2 or 3 years ago, if not early, like sooner than that, or more recent than that, or whatever. We got 8 to 10 sets in a year or whatever, and it was just that was insane and that was draining. So they heard that people were burnt out by this and did not want that many sets in 1 year to keep up with. So they cut that down by nearly half. They went from 8 to 10 to around 6, which is an improvement. That's almost half the sets just cut off or whatever, you know? That does fix the problem. The second problem they were trying to fix is that they kept making sets that were designed to put cards into modern, that were designed to put cards into commander specifically, and that kind of thing, designed to put for a specific format that isn't standard. And people felt that they weren't focusing on standard enough, and the people who play things that aren't standard were complaining because commanders were getting too strong, modern was getting gross and tier 0y or whatever. So they stopped printing supplemental sets for the most part, and they made it so every single set was a standard set. And then the third thing they tried to fix is that Universes Beyond was only for Commander and Modern mostly. I think it applies to other formats, but I think those are the main ones. And the issue is Universes Beyond gets a bunch of new fans into the format, into the game in general. But the formats that they were being drawn into, Commander and Modern and stuff, were A, coming at the detriment of Standard because less people were playing Standard and new players were gravitating towards not Standard. And B, people would argue that Commander and Modern and stuff are not a good first format for somebody trying to learn Magic, you know what I mean? So to fix all three of these issues at once, they cut the sets by half to lower the number of product. They made them all standard so that they wouldn't make broken commanders on accident or whatever, or make broken modern cards by printing with modern in mind. And they would make the Universes Beyond sets standard legal to get new players into standard. They did those three things to try to fix the format and fix Magic and fix people's issues with it. The issue is those are contradictory because now the Burnout has shifted from there are too many sets to there are too many standard legal sets, and the Burnout has shifted from Universes Beyond is only Commander and Modern and that's ruining Magic to Universes Beyond is standard and that's ruining Magic. That's just a theory that I have, that that's what's going on and that there's no real easy way to fix it or whatever. Another thing I feel is that the issue is not the number of sets that are releasing. The issue is changing planes every single time we go to a new set. I know that blocks are not popular at all. I know that they stopped doing blocks because every single time they kept selling worse and worse and worse as the blocks went on, and there are very few exceptions to that. And that's why they got rid of it. So I know we're never going to get blocks back, but I feel an issue is the amount of like times we change planes every single time. When we had Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt a few years ago, I feel like that burnout didn't feel as bad. Like that didn't feel as bad going from that set to that one, from Midnight Hunt to Crimson Vow. Whereas going from something like Outlaws of Thunder Junction to Bloomborough or whatever feels worse. I don't know. I just think that that is an aspect. And again, I know they can't fix it because we're never getting blocks back, but I think that does add to it. And that's why we have the same number of sets or a similar number of sets as we used to for the most part, but it still feels worse than it used to as well. And as for the number, like, I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I think 6 sets a year is fine. I think that's a fine number. It's just that they're all standard legal. I'll talk about how I would fix this issue later, but the third thing I wanted to talk about before I get to that point is another theory I have about what's going on. So, last year, or this year, I guess, was going to have be the first with 6 sets, right? It was going to have 6 sets plus Spider-Man as a miniature set like Assassin's Creed, right? They decided at some point that Assassin's Creed, it didn't flop. It did decently well, but it's still a set that isn't received as well as they probably wanted. So, what they decided to do was make Spider Man a full sized set by increasing the number of cards in it. And then they realized that that would mean 7 sets per year, that we would get 7 sets that year. And they thought that was absurd to them. So, what they did was that they moved Spider Man. They made Spider Man a big set, and then they moved Lorwyn to next year so that 6 sets would happen this year. And they, instead of moving a 2027 set to 2028 and a 2028 to 2029 and just keep doing that forever, they decided to let 2026 have 7 sets and then keep 6 as the standard. And they moved Lorwyn specifically so that it would be more even in terms of in-universe sets and universes beyond sets next year. Because otherwise, I think we would have like 2 universes within sets this year and like 3 universes beyond or something. That's just my theory. Again, that's a theory. I don't think that's confirmed anywhere, but that's my, I guess, headcanon as to what's happening. And I think that's why we're getting 7 sets next year. And I genuinely think it's going to be 6 for the most part, and 7 in 2026 is an exception. You know? That's just what I think. Um, as for how I would fix this issue, personally, I would make it so that there's 3 standard sets a year, that there's 5 sets every year, 4 standard sets, and 1 supplemental product. So it would be me. I know that they would do 2 universes beyond, 2 universes within, but I feel they should do 3 universes beyond, 3 universes within, 1 universes beyond, and then have a supplemental set. So in this case, it would be like do Reality Fracture, do Secrets of Strixhaven, and do Lorwyn, and then do a universes beyond set. Like I would say Hobbit probably. And then the fifth set is a wild card. It could be a remaster set. It could be a Horizon set. It could be like a reprint set or a collection set or remaster or what an unset or what have you. Just some kind of other product or whatever. That would be 4 standard sets a year, which has been the norm for a long ass time. Um, I think we used to get 3 or 4 standard sets a year. I think it was closer to 4 more often. And then 1 universes beyond and 3 universes within. And then you would also have a bonus set for fun stuff like like I said, a remaster or Horizons or an unset or whatever. I think that would be a much better balance or whatever, because a lot of the people that I know that I've seen like hate Universes Beyond, not because of what it is, not because of the cards, or not because of the IP slopification or whatever they call it. A lot of the people's issue with it is specifically that that there's too much of it, that there's just too much at once, and that they should have, like, if they were going to do something like this, that they should have slowly increased the number over time, as opposed to just like you're suddenly getting like 3 universes beyond that's a year, 2 to 3. Um, I don't know. I feel like doing what I said would fix it for most people. I think most people would be okay with what I said. The 4 sets, 3 within, 1 beyond, 1 supplemental, or whatever. It would also allow for more interesting stuff because people on Mark's blog have asked for stuff like an unset or another battle bond or what have you. But the issue is that there's just no room. They already do 6 sets a year. They can't add a seventh or whatever outside of this one very specific circumstance. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think they're genuinely trying to fix the problems. They cut the sets by half. They're putting more focus on standard as opposed to commander and modern and all that. And they're cutting down on the commander decks every year, which I think is sad because I think more the merrier with commander decks specifically. And I feel that like with commander decks specifically, like I said, They only have like 10 new cards in them or whatever, so I don't feel the burnout on those because it's mostly just reprints, and all it does is give players more options to on-ramp to Commander while also giving more room for reprints because I feel Commander precons are the best place to get Commander reprints because a lot of the cards that are really good in Commander shouldn't or can't or whatever be legal in another format, so they need a Commander specific product to reprint them. And I feel like Commander decks are the easiest way to do it. I also feel that it gets more people into Commander, but because any gameplay idea that you have, like you want to be aggressive or you want to play a graveyard thing or you like zombies or vampires or dragons or whatever, you're going to have multiple precon options. But I guess that might be another topic for another day. Um, I genuinely feel like they're trying to fix the issues people have. They're focusing on standard, they're cutting down the number of sets, they're doing what they can or whatever. It's just that the way they did it by cutting the sets by half but making them all standard legal is the issue. I feel if they at the very least cut it in half but made it so like I said 3 or 4 standard legal, that would be better. But I mean, they're trying to fix like 3 problems at once, and I can't see another way to fix these 3 problems at once. But I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I'm kind of repeating myself at this point. Can you tell this is unscripted and rambly? So I guess my final thoughts on this are that I don't feel burnout. I appreciate and understand that people do, and I totally get it. I would recommend that they just try not to memorize or feel like they're forced to memorize every card in every set at every time. And I think that what I said with like they moved Spider-Man and they're trying to fix all the issues at once causing issues. I think that's what's going on, and I would have fixed it in a different way, but I can still appreciate that they're trying to fix it and that they're listening to feedback. Um, my issue is that like I genuinely like Magic contacts us, they talk to us, and I feel like people don't understand how insane that is. Because in Yu Gi Oh! We get zero communication. Konami never talks to us. Same thing in Pokemon. In Magic, they genuinely do talk to us. Mark has his blog where he answers questions. Gavin has his channel where he talks about behind the scenes stuff and how things work and ideas behind things and updates on what's happening in the ban list or whatever. Hell, we get descriptions with the ban list. Yu-Gi-Oh just has a list of cards or whatever. Magic talks about why they're being banned, what their goal is with the current format, all that stuff. I think that just people don't appreciate that they talk to us in as much as they do, and people just automatically assume that any positive thing Mark says or Gavin says or whatever's a lie. So I understand that like if Mark says that this is what's going on and that they're trying to fix all these issues, every reply is going to be no you're not, you corporate shill. And I think that's lame and I think that's gross, but so just appreciate that I think that they're telling the truth and I think that they genuinely have our feedback in mind and that they're trying to fix as much as they can or whatever. Basically what I've said it, I don't know how it happened again, but most of the G rambles end with this. Don't be a dick to people. I don't know. I guess that's all I really wanted to talk about. I'm sorry if this was a bit long and a bit rambly, but I mean, that's the point of this series or whatever. I just ramble about whatever I want to talk about. I'll see you guys in the next video.